waiting for Enri to set up. But I'll just give you the crux of what happened, so you're not waiting in suspense. It's going to go to trial, so that's the biggest news. There'll be an attempt, I think, on Enri's part to do a jury trial, so that'll be interesting. And of course, we want to create this pattern of consistently defeating the Scientologists. So if they lose with Danny and they lose with Enri, then they might be 3-0. And he'll give you some interesting information as soon as he's done setting up. But he also has a stay-away order to stay 100 feet from, of course, the building of which he is accused of vandalizing the potted plants that lie outside of it. So that's a bummer. We lose him only for about 2 weeks, because then after 2 weeks it'll go to trial. And I think, well, can you after 2 weeks? Can you show up or no?
A pre-trial conference will take place, and so in 2 weeks, a pretrial conference will take place, and at that point is when a decision will be made on whether the entire case is dismissed, or if there is a push, which would be filing a motion to make it go to trial.
Right. So there's still a good chance it could get dismissed.
There's still a very good chance.
Right. Interesting. So that's the hope. You don't know. Pardon me, guys. You don't know at this moment if it'll be a dismissal or go for trial. So I guess you can't really get anything in the preliminary, very early hearing. It's just...
Yes, it was just a simple arraignment.
It's arraignment, right.
Should have never been sustained in the first place. That was the
right.
problem.
Right.
The fact that a complaint was made, but then approved by a city attorney to then appear before a court, that's the favor that basically was done for Scientology to essentially subvert the TRO process for establishing a TRO.
Yeah, try to flip it around.
Right, so basically, so we're live online.
Cool. Well, and you could start over for your live,
yeah.
obviously.
So thanks for everybody for tuning in. I'm here with Dodge, and we've got some updates on the court today.
You just started.
The update is that during the arraignment, a standard condition for California for a criminal case is that a stay-away order is issued until the next court date. So it is a way essentially of having to not go through the TRO process, and you still achieve the same effect of stopping somebody from exercising the First Amendment right, which is exactly what happened in my case. I was given an update to reappear on the 29th of August, and I am effectively under the same conditions of a TRO. It's just not a judge's order, it's just a stay-away order, and it's a standard condition that comes with criminal cases in the state of California, which was news to me because, frankly, every other standard condition I've ever seen for a criminal case, for a misdemeanor, is that A, if you're not under custody, don't do any bad crime for the next 30 days, and come back in your next court date. Those are standard conditions,
right?
Pretty much everywhere else. The stay-away order was interesting and unique to me that I didn't understand, and so the stay-away order is specifically just for the Church of Scientology on Fountain Avenue anyway, so it's not like all Church of Scientology locations, it's just that particular location. But nonetheless, it still achieves the same result of a TRO.
Doesn't matter, right? And tell me, you saw Kendrick Moxon. Kendrick Moxon yet again showed up.
Absolutely. Kendrick Moxon was there with his trusty aide, Jennifer. And even more interesting was the fact that Kendrick Moxon stepped over to confer with City Council, which is unusual unless the suspicion is that Kendrick Moxon is stepping in as for an alleged victim from Scientology under this vandalism case. But when you take a look at who the victim of this case is, it's specifically plastic green netting. So I wasn't
right,
aware,
that's the bizarre part, right?
Yes, I wasn't aware that a inanimate object could be a victim and have counsel. So that's also news to me. But yes, Moxon was there, and I gave him a little hello and salute, to which he immediately backed away and didn't look at me.
No.
And I guess that's just par for the course.
Yeah. What else is new? But it is weird because, let's say you have a sexual assault case, right? In that case, there's like a victim, perhaps. Yes. And so that's different. And it's weird because there's no victim. There was a complaint, obviously, that was filed to the police. But it's weird that Moxon even went to the back area away from where the public was and was even permitted there and and appeared to have a conversation with the city attorney, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes. 100% correct, yes. That's exactly what happened.
Right.
And even weirder, every other counsel that was there on that day for other cases did not get the chance to do so. It was just Moxon of all the cases that were seen. So yet again, adding to suspicion, and rightfully so.
Right. Let's get a little space because of the bus.
Let's go over here.
Perfect. Interesting. And so what's going to be the next move? You have something in 2 weeks. Are you going to aim to get it dismissed? Would you rather it go to trial, or are you fine with either or?
Frankly, it would be the easiest route would be for it to get dismissed. However, if it really comes to it and push comes to shove, I'm fucking ready to make it go to trial.
Respect.
And take one for the team. And I'm sure the chat and all the other folks watching behind the scenes and all the other activists will come to support, and just to make it a fucking case, because then what will happen is when this sets a precedent for the fact that yet another protesters being silenced with bullshit frivolous cases, then the issue of cleaning up a street that's illegally barricaded is next on the agenda. Because same problem, you have abandoned property on public street and it's not yours to litter about. That's fundamentally at the root of this issue, that you are littering.
Right, and there's a lot of issues. It could mess up with circulation. It could mess up with airflow, water flow. There's a lot of, deeper things that kind of mess up the ground. So there's a lot of stuff, like they've already been damaging their sidewalk. They've been damaging other stuff, and yet they get so offended when you've moved something that has essentially blocked a public easement.
Yes.
So you think of civil liberties and even the right to green space, even if it's, a millimeter of it, you have that right to that green space in a public area.
Absolutely.
And so they have since obstructed it.
And the other problem is the issue of whether there's a permit for this blockade continues to pervade all this. And in my case, I spoke with 4 different LAPD officers, and all of them unanimously decided that there was no violations of any sort, and there was no permits of any sort available. And so it, for all intents and purposes, is abandoned property.
Right.
They are littering whoever this person is, and now they're coming to say, well, this is actually our property despite no signage. Well,
either LAPD said otherwise.
Correct. All 4 officers clearly said it was no permit in existence.
Right.
And refused to provide a permit. And on the last encounter I had with LAPD on the same day, they were actually trying to solicit a trespass from me. So they were soliciting a trespass for Scientology to trespass me, which is also an illegal move by LAPD. And I filed a complaint on those 2 officers, and I'm going yet again back to the Northeast Division to identify them because those 2 cops refused to identify at the scene. And so you have, for these 2 officers, you have a solicitation of a trespass and a refusal to identify, both violations. On the first 2 officers I met, which was at the early midnight of the 16th, they showed up alleging a permit and did not provide a permit, and clearly stated that nothing was and no wrongdoing or any violations were occurring. And then I filed a complaint on Galindo and Garcia, the first 2 officers I interacted with, for harassment because they showed up a second time that same night and threatening that, they don't want to have to arrest me, yet again not being able to and refusing to provide any permits. And that is very clear harassment. It's an unconsensual encounter.
Right.
And that's harassment. And the fact that those 2 same officers, Galindo and Garcia, did not understand what a PPA is. And I had another complaint against them, specifically on a...
So they kind of came on the scene just saying, kind of throwing up their hands, saying they were completely confused. And...
It's intimidation.
Right.
It's threatening intimidation. That's 100% what it is. It's 100%. Especially the second time. They really messed up the second time because specifically I had it on written and verbal. On their business cards, the written and the verbal statement that they were going to come back with proof of a permit. They did no such thing, and they continue to issue threats of arrest.
So hopefully,
that's clear connection of intimidation.
Right. And is it lying and violating somebody's civil rights? You know, if they say have a permit and when they actually don't. And because then that all hinges if they actually have the permit for that space. But if they don't actually, in reality, there's been no tangible proof. Have you seen a permit?
No.
So you've never once physically seen, right?
4 different officers, no permits.
That's wild.
Stated.
So you're right. I mean, they could be going way beyond their britches in a lot of ways, and going over, overextending what rights they have.
Absolutely.
And there must, I mean, that's the thing. Can you look into filing an anti-SLAPP? Potentially. Good.
Yes, absolutely.
Good. Yeah.
This is clear abuse of the court system, yet again, for suppressing a free speech.
Yeah.
It was on public property. I had the public right of way.
Right.
I was doing a public service by removing litter.
Yeah. Respect. Right.
That's all.
Right. And allowing people to access green space. And do you think they see you as an effective protester and they realize that they need to create these TROs every which way, and to you they're kind of doing it the roundabout way, the opposite way?
Yes, I think realistically the protesters that are getting targeted by the court system from Scientology are the ones that they feel most threatened by.
Right.
Because everybody else,
respect,
they would not. It's clear that if they did feel as threatened by some of the other folks, they would have pursued some sort of legal action.
Is that going to stop you, or are you going to be
fuck
at?
No.
Fuck yeah!
No,
hell
fuck
yeah!
No.
Cool.
Like I said, I'm fucking willing to take this to trial.
Love that. I mean, are they going to stop you from protesting, or are you going to do other buildings in the interim? Do you think you could do La Poubelle or?
Yes.
Right. Cool.
The stay away is just for the
100
Big
yards
Blue building. 100 yards from Big Blue.
Right.
And so it says nothing about any other location. Period.
Right. And were you back in Buffalo and came back for this trial?
Yes.
Okay, and then so you're going to stick around the next 2 weeks.
Yes, I'll be around.
Cool. What do you think you're going to do in the 2 weeks? You think you'll shove it to them and get back out there?
Stay fucking tuned.
Stay fucking. I like it. How do we subscribe to you?
Go and you can just Google my name, Enri Marini, and you will find out my YouTube channel. It's Ethics and Engineering, but you can also Google my name. And you'll find out everything you need to know. And make sure to subscribe to this guy.
Thank you.
Landsman.
I appreciate it.
Best court reporter anybody can ever fucking ask.
I'm no Zachary Obama, but I try. I try. So I'm and I do want to blast out. Do you think you might look into getting legal representation?
Yes.
So guys, I would say hopefully you'll set up a GoFundMe, because now you know you'll need to work on that. But in the interim, I assume you have PayPals and Cash Apps and all that jazz.
Absolutely.
So take a look at that, because that'll all be used for his legal defense, of which he'll need. Maybe she'll check on Dorothy Gibbons White, although she might do a different type of case, so it might not be applicable. But yeah, here's the good news. The nugget in this, even though it wasn't dismissed, not that it really would be anyway today.
Correct.
So it wasn't like we were hoping for it done today, right? But the nugget is it creates this frivolous pattern, right? If Danny wins and you win, then Scientology is 3-0.
Yes.
And then I think that what happens is the court starts looking at these cases and realizes now there have been 3 cases in a row. So once they try to pick off protester 5, 6, 7, 8, the judge may just dismiss it immediately with an anti-SLAPP, because there's been a precedence of not 1, hopefully, but hopefully 2, 3 cases. So, in a sense, your sacrifice kind of helps move along the train of civil liberties in that way.
Absolutely.
And sometimes we have to do that, and we have to be that fall guy.
Absolutely, and especially the illegal blockade of LRH Way. It's the same issue. You have a litter, you have abandoned property that is littering and blocking an entire street, and a non-existent permit for a street. The permits all specifically state for their parking lot in Sunset, specifically for no through traffic, meaning only approved visitors on their parking lot. It says nothing about LRH Way.
Right.
Absolutely nothing. It is specifically for their parking lot on Sunset Boulevard.
Here's another question. There was obviously, we talked about this before, there's communication with Moxon, communication with the city attorney. Two things. One, do you think Moxon might be familiar with the city attorney? And tell me, I heard she might be under investigation for a thing or two.
So anybody that was tuning into yesterday, we found Puppet Guy. And Puppet Guy is not a moron at all, as many people might think. Puppet Guy is actually an attorney. He is a licensed attorney. He is a practicing attorney, and he's a really fucking smart guy. And he has been going to every city council meeting since the dawn of mankind. And Puppet Guy has a lot of great dirt on the city attorney for all sorts of corruption and just the usual runabout of what you can expect for somebody affiliated with Scientology. And yesterday, Puppet Guy was clearly explaining all the various corruption charges levied against the city attorney and how several other city council members also take serious problem with the city attorney. Right. So the city attorney is very well known to be a corrupt piece of shit.
Respects, word. Here's a fun little thing. This is so far off the kilter, but can you imagine maybe the next phase for the protesters? City attorney is an elected position.
Yes.
I wonder, do we look into her primary opponent? Do we follow her around to every campaign event? And I do wonder, is trying to change the electoral map step 2 for protesting? Do we look at each individual council member, look at how effective or how supportive they are of people against Scientology versus Scientology? And do we really try, if an election is 3,000 votes, in some of these council races 5,000, do we try to protest their events? Do we leaflet for their opponent? Do we get confirmation from their opponent? So I'd say, yeah, fuck yeah, and let's do that with the city attorney.
Absolutely.
I'll look into when her election is. I don't know, but
yes,
it's an odd year, I figured, so it might be next year, 2025.
And the same goes for all the other associations. So, for example, the LADWP, even though the chief executive officer is a appointed position by the mayor, you still have a way of going after corrupt practices. So in the case of LADWP, in order to be a practicing engineer for public utilities, you have to have a state license called a professional engineer's license. A PE license takes a very long time to get.
Interesting.
And there's a licensing board similar to the Bar Association that oversees ethics complaints.
Respect. Cool.
And that's what I'm doing next. I'm going after the PE license for Janice and the rest of her colleagues. They all have PE licenses. They would not be in LADWP if they didn't have it.
Yeah.
Losing that license means their entire career is permanently over.
The toilet.
There's no way two ways about it. So.
Right. Good. I'm glad you're doing that. And somebody needs to be that constant ombudsman in a way. That's important stuff. Trying to think what else is there to look at. For the people in the chat asking what happened for people that are coming in, essentially this is just an arraignment. So we didn't expect a victory or a failure for this specific day anyway, but it looks like it's either we'll get dismissed next court date or it will go to trial. In the interim, unfortunately, Enri has a stay away order from obviously Big Blue. So that's a bummer, but not too surprising. And if it goes to trial, it'll be really interesting, but he'll look at getting legal representation. First step would be try to get it dismissed, hopefully with some good legal representation. Enri only spoke with his court-appointed attorney for all of maybe 20 minutes. So that's what's happening. And anything else you want to add?
Stay tuned, guys.
Stay tuned.
I'll keep you posted on this whole thing. And I think really important in all this is to just put out as much public information on this as possible. I think people originally might be scared to talk about what is going on, but the fact of the matter is this is all public information. And soon enough, I actually found out when I spoke to my the court-appointed PD, there was actually a whole litany of other documents that when I first talked to the city clerk, they did not provide me with. They only provided me with the stamped complaint by the city attorney.
It's really insufficient.
So I did not get a copy of the police report.
That might also be a violation of processed. Yeah.
And also on that complaint, there was a massive typo on who the person alleging the complaint was. It literally said Church of Scientolog.
Yes.
Scientology, the
I saw that.
Scientolog. So
Go Scientolog.
already you have all sorts of court procedures completely just fucking being disregarded with reckless abandon.
Yeah.
And you have a clerk that is not providing me with the information that I as a defendant am entitled to.
No.
And to hear about it the day of is
It's a surprise.
par for the
Sorry to hear
course of
that.
corruption, I guess.
Yeah. Cool. All right. Well, I think I need to head to the bathroom. I've been holding it in for too long. Thank you guys again. Your YouTube one more time.
Yes, you can find me at Ethics and Engineering
Cool.
or searching by my name, Enri Marini.
Sweet. And I'll see you guys see you guys tomorrow for Solomon. And we have Enri in 2 weeks. So thank you for watching. Appreciate it. Bye bye, guys. Cool. Thank you. I appreciate that.